All right, Shalom. Let's start off by giving all praises, all honor, and glory to Yahweh, Hashem Yahushua. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to you, brothers, to the four corners of the earth, teaching this word in truth and sincerity. All right, and I just want to do a quick lesson on this topic, right? On the children of Israel were always mistaken for Egyptians. Okay? And you got to ask yourself why. All right? Because what? We were all of what? A dark skin complexion. Okay? We were all the same dark skin complexion. Okay? But the Lord put a difference between us. All right? Okay? The Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans of Negro and Indian descent. All right? We have a different spirit. All right? Than these so-called Africans. All right? Which are Hamites. Okay? But particular who I want to speak on is the Egyptians, which are also of Hamitic descent. Okay, because they come from Ham. All right, their forefathers Ham, and our forefather, all right, is Jacob. Okay, he's a progenitor of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay, which we are the children of Israel. Okay, the lost sheep of the children of Israel, who the Lord is coming back together, back up. All right, the elect of Israel. All right, but the point of this lesson was what I wanted to, show you a few accounts that's mentioned in the scriptures how we were always mistaken as the Egyptians. Okay, because of the dark skin complexion. All right, so without further ado, let's jump right into scriptures. All right, and as you can see on the screen, you see Hamites at the top. All right, of dark skin complexion, a little bit darker than we can be, at times. Then as you see the bottom, you see various different shades of brown of Israel. All right, and that's what you have out here today, because we were dispersed and mingled among the nations, and so a lot of you Israelites, you carry these features of the other nations, which that's Daniel 9 and 7, confusion of faces. All right, and even some of us, some Israelites today, since we were scattered amongst all these other nations, and we mingle with the women, all right, or the men of the other nations, got a hold of our women and slept with our women, during slavery, so forth and so on, now we carry the same skin complexion of them nations. All right, but all through the spirit, if you go back, your bloodline goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and you're Israelite. All right, no matter what you look like. All right, so let's get that out the way as well. But pretty much, Israel, we was a dark skin complexion back then, and we was always been mistaken as Egyptians. All right, so let's get the first account. Genesis 50. Let's start at 8. We'll start at verse 7. It says, "And Joseph went to bury his father, and with him of all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, and all the house of Joseph and his brethren and his father's house, only their little ones and their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen." Right, okay. So this is the account of Joseph, going to go bury his father Jacob. All right. Verse 9, it says, "And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond Jordan, that there they mourned with a great and very sore lamentation. And he made a mourning for his father for 7 days, for his father 7 days. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning and the floor of Atad, they said," which the Canaanites are also Hamites, okay, so-called Africans, "This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians, wherefore the name of it was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond Jordan." Right. So the Canaanites said it's a great mourning to the Egyptians, right? Now, as we read in verse 7 and 8, right? It says some of the servants of Pharaoh went with the house of Joseph, right? The house of Joseph, were Israelites, okay? But it says there was some Egyptians, actual Egyptians, mingled in there, okay? But the point is, the Canaanites seen all of them together, mix of a dark complexion. They just, said what? Hey, look at all these Egyptians up there mourning, not knowing that there was a lot of Israelites up there, okay? And there was more Israelites up there than Egyptians, all right? Okay. All right, so that's one account. Let's go get Exodus 2. Verse 16. It says, now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs of water to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came out and drove them away. But Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And they came out to Reuel, their father, and said, how is it that you are come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock. Right, so right here, the daughters of Reuel mistaked Moses for being an Egyptian. Right? Now we know Moses was what? He was an Israelite, all right, from the tribe of Levi. But right here, he's been mistaken as an Egyptian, okay? Meaning he was a dark skin complexion. Hey, and this is another cut, all right, to all you Edomites out there, which is the Edomites is the so-called white people, that's saying that the Israelites, the true biblical Israelites, are so-called white people, all right? Because we know, even geographically speaking, that the Egyptians, the real Egyptians, was of a dark skin complexion, all right. And for the real Egyptians to be or the real Israelites to be mistaken as the Egyptians, we would know that the Israelites would have to be of dark skin complexion as well, all right. That's a cut, man. Hey, and just to throw this out there as well, right? If Moses was white, right, or if he had white skin complexion, how was he able to be rose up in the Pharaoh's household? Okay, how was he able to be to pass as an Egyptian in the Pharaoh's household and be grown up as the Pharaoh's daughter's son if he was so-called white? It would not be possible. All right, let's throw this out there as well. The Lord, right? Mary and Joseph, when they fled into Egypt, if they were so-called white people, how would they be able to hide themselves among the Egyptians? Okay, if the Lord, who the world ignorantly called Jesus, all right, how would they be able to hide him? Okay, Mary and Joseph themselves, how would they be able to hide themselves in Egypt if they had white skin complexion? They would be pointed out quick, all right. But they was able to hide amongst, okay, the Egyptians, or hide down in Egypt. Why? Because they can blend in well, because we was all of the same skin complexion. All right. Hey man, this is common knowledge, man. For all you simpletons out there, all right? All right, but let's go to another account, right? Stay on topic, right? Because even Apostle Paul, was more mistaken for an Egyptian as well, all right? Acts 21, verse We'll start at verse 37. It says, and as Paul was to be led into the castle, and he said unto the chief captain, may I speak unto thee? Who said, canst thou speak Greek? Art not thou that Egyptian, which before these days madest an uproar, and led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers? But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city. And I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people. That's right, okay? So right here, this is the account of Paul being mistaken for an Egyptian. All right. So in the scriptures, oftentimes that what? The Israelites were mistaken for Egyptians. All right. That's the point. I want to read verse 42. It says, and when he had given him license, Paul stood on the stairs and beckoned with the hand unto the people. And when there was made a great silence, he spake unto them in the Hebrew tongue, saying, right. So that shows you what? Paul spoke Hebrew. Okay. Paul also spoke Greek as well, you know. But Paul also spoke what? His tongue, which is Hebrew. All right. And throw this out there too. That's our original tongue. All right. The Lashon Kadash, the holy tongue. All right. The ancient Paleo Hebrew. Hey, that's our original language. All right. Okay. Then for the so-called Negroes, all right, Latinos, Native American. That's our original language, man. You know. But the point is, Paul was being mistaken as an Egyptian, all right? And that's the point of the lesson, right? That the children of Israel were always mistaken for Egyptians because of our dark skin complexion, all right? Now let's there's another scripture I want to get, right? Exodus 11:7, right? Before I show you a couple more pictures. So Exodus 11:7, it says, but against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel, right? So the Lord put a difference between us, all right? The Egyptians, they come from Ham, all right? And the Israelites, we come from Shem. Hey, that's plain, man. All right, so let's show you. You see, the Lord put a difference between us, all right? The Hamites and the Israelites. Okay? So, back then what was going on was our people was being mistaken for Egyptians, all right? That was also of dark skin complexion, all right? I ain't gonna stress it enough. I ain't gonna beat the dead horse, all right? Because I made the point. All right, so I hope this lesson was edifying, all right? Shalom. Give all praise, all glory, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to you brothers to the four corners of the earth, teaching his word in truth and sincerity.